it's Film Rich, and welcome back to another recap of The Punisher, which is Season 1, Episode 9, titled Front Toward Enemy. This episode of The Punisher places Frank Castle at the center of a growing ideological conflict as acts of domestic terrorism shake New York City and force a long-buried truth closer to the surface. While Castle confronts a man who he believes to be fighting the same war, others face the consequences of guilt, grief, and moral compromise. Before we get into this episode, I would like to please remind everyone to keep liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel because there's a lot of exciting things coming up. Also, I hope everyone had an excellent Christmas and New Year's, and let's get into it scene by scene. Dina Madani remains bedridden following Sam Stein's death, both physically injured and emotionally consumed by guilt. Farah attempts to support her, but Madani blames herself for Stein's involvement and death, unable to share the true reason behind his sacrifice. From a nearby rooftop, Frank Castle and Micro observe her residence. They consider making contact, but it becomes clear that Madani is not in a condition to assist them. Micro suggests arranging a meeting electronically, but Castle insists they will only have one opportunity and must be fully prepared. Their surveillance is interrupted when an explosion detonates nearby, signaling a new and immediate threat. Multiple municipal buildings across New York City are bombed, resulting in a civilian and a municipal worker casualties. The perpetrator, Lewis Wilson, authors a manifesto and sends it to Karen Page, believing she will sympathize due to her association with Castle. In the manifesto, Wilson claims the government is attempting to strip citizens of their rights, particularly gun ownership, frames his attacks as a fight for liberty. He threatens the New York Bulletin if his message is not published. Karen strongly condemns the attacks and proposes publishing the manifesto only alongside a direct rebuttal. Mitchell Ellison refuses, insisting the FBI be contacted before any publication decision is made. Castle watches the news coverage and expresses disgust at Wilson's actions, rejecting any comparison between himself and the bomber. Micro raises the issue of Madani again, but Castle argues that approaching her during an ongoing terrorist situation would be irresponsible. Rafael Hernandez visits Madani at her home despite Farah's objections. He confronts Madani about Homeland Security's lack of preparedness and questions whether her recent actions, particularly those connected to Kandahar and Ahmed Zubair, contributed to the failure. Madani refuses to divulge details, stating only that the truth is the reason everything happened. The New York Bulletin publishes Wilson's manifesto along with Karen Page's response, in which she openly denounces him as a coward and a terrorist. Castle becomes concerned that Karen has made herself a target. Listening to the Ricky Lactree show, he hears Karen debate Senator Stan Ori, who advocates stricter gun control and cites the Punisher's violent actions as justification. Karen counters that weapons can be necessary for self-defense. Wilson calls into the show, declaring that both Karen and Ori are on the wrong side of the conflict, and ends the call with the phrase, "Sic semper tyrannis." Castle recognizes the phrase from Curtis Hoyle's veteran support group and instructs Micro to investigate Wilson. Although Micro questions the relevance to their mission, Castle insists that Karen must be protected, considering her family. Micro agrees to assist. Curtis Hoyle also recognizes the phrase. When Wilson is not at his residence, Hoyle goes to O'Connor's home and finds him dead, along with the bomb-making materials. Hoyle confronts Wilson and attempts to reason with him. Wilson refuses to listen and attacks, ultimately overpowering Hoyle and beating him unconscious with his prosthetic leg. Micro provides Castle with information on Wilson and suggests contacting law enforcement or Hoyle. Castle refuses, determined to handle the situation himself. He contacts Karen, warning her that publicly exposing Wilson was dangerous. Karen challenges Castle to do the right thing and inform the FBI. When she accuses him of being no different from the bomber, Castle firmly rejects the comparison. Billy Russo visits Madani, attempting to comfort her by sharing his own experiences of guilt over fallen comrades. He suggests she return to work, but Madani admits she used Castle as bait, leading to the deaths of federal agents. Later, Senator Orge hires Anvil to provide security at a fundraiser for bombing victims. When Ori suggests lethal force would undermine his principles, Russo questions whether those principles are worth dying for. Castle locates Wilson's hideout and finds Hoyle restrained to a chair, with explosives rigged to detonate. Wilson contacts Castle and compares himself to the Punisher, claiming they both took justice into their own hands. Castle condemns Wilson's methods, calling him a coward who hides behind bombs. Wilson ends the call without releasing Hoyle. As police approach, Wilson contacts Castle again, claiming they should be allies, and stating he does not want Castle to die. Castle pretends to cooperate and asks which wire to cut. To gain Wilson's trust, Castle recounts the incident that cost Hoyle his leg, a pregnant suicide bomber, a wounded child, and Castle's hesitation, which resulted in the boy's death and Hoyle's injury. Moved, Wilson reveals the correct wire and flees. Castle defuses the bomb and saves Hoyle, but is forced to flee as the police arrive. During the escape, he assaults officers and steals a police vehicle. Dashcam footage captures his face, and news reports confirm that the Punisher is alive. Karen, Madani, and Micro all react in shock. Castle returns to the hideout to find Micro gone, watching the podcast as reality sits in. Earlier, Madani is approached at a bar by Micro, who reveals he sent her the Zubair footage. He explains Operation Cerberus, a heroin operation out of Kandahar, and identifies William Rawlins as the man responsible. Micro states that while he has evidence, Castle's testimony is required to corroborate the execution of Ahmed Zubair. And there we have The Punisher Season 1 Episode 9. By the end of the episode, Frank Castle has saved a life, exposed himself to the world, and crossed another irreversible line. As the Punisher's existence becomes public once more, the stakes rise, not just for Castle, but for everyone connected to him. With enemies multiplying and the truth itching closer to the surface, the war is no longer hidden. As always, thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.